We're back with another video. Maybe we can talk about personality development, ego development, and also the disidentification from identity. So let me just rewind a little bit. See, when you're born, when you are a baby, you are identified with your body, but you haven't yet developed a sense of self. You haven't developed a personality. You haven't developed an identity. This stage is what we call the pre-ego state. The pre-ego, okay? So the ego, the sense of separation, the sense of distinctness, the sense of individuality hasn't come online yet. Now, if individuality doesn't come on, then you stay dependent, right? In order for you to be an independent, autonomous human being, you need a sense of self. You need individuality. You need ego. Okay, so the ego is actually very important in your psychological development. This is when you start to develop likes and dislikes, a personality. This is when you start meeting friends. This is when you start thinking about having a career, right? This ego is essential for your worldly life, for your success in the world. What does success mean? Well, are you well adjusted to the different domains of worldly life? So what are the different domains? It's health, wealth, love, right? These are the three different domains, and health includes what you do for your fitness, what you eat, things of that nature. Wealth is obviously what you do for your career, how you're good at, how patient you are with your money, are you good at investing, do you take care of your survival needs? And love is how you relate to other people, right? How you build long-term relationships. Are you afraid of approaching people or not? Are your relationships meaningful to you? Do you have a family? That's essentially, this is what most people spend most of their time on, and mostly people spend most time on their career and love, right? Relationships. So for dealing with these areas of your life, you do need agency, right? You do need a sense of self. You do need an ego. Now, here's the kicker, or here's the problem. Most of us live in this ego state, right? The problem is that the ego itself is a constraint. Individuality is a constraint. You feel like you are bounded inside a bag of skin, like Alan Watts would say, right? You feel like a separate self. And feeling like a separate self, most people are not aware of this, right? They're not aware of, they feel that sense of separation is just natural. So if you ask people this, they wouldn't know what you're talking about, right? But that sense of self is uncomfortable. So that person is unconsciously always ever seeking the release of their sense of individuality. They feel like they want to expand, and expansion is not bad actually. So I'll just make a nuanced comment about this, but essentially they're seeking happiness in the world, and they don't actually know this. People don't actually know this. Essentially, whenever they're seeking any worldly thing, I mean, usually what kind of things people seek are material experiences, right? Experiences, either relational experiences, or basically sensory experiences, right? That's essentially what people are seeking, are sensory experiences. Because that sense of individuality, while it is necessary to adapt to the world, it's incapable of feeling happy. It feels located. It feels like it exists in time. It fears disillusion, right? So that's where your aversions come in. And it feels like it lacks, so it desires something on the outside. It craves for experiences to complete itself, right? That's why you get these attachments like, I can't be happy without X. So what do we do? The solution is a post-ego state, okay? The solution is going beyond the ego and having your actions be guided by what exists in the post-ego state. So in the ego state, what guides your actions is a selfish sense of self. Not selfish, but a small sense of self. Whatever meets your preferences, essentially. In the post-ego state, what guides your actions is universal intelligence itself, right? So you'd find a lot of people then who move into the post-ego stage, starting to prefer careers which are more in line with their passion, for example, or their natural sense of self. In relationships, they'll seek depth and meaning. This is because the post-ego is the realm of the soul, the realm of the heart, the realm of your inner sacredness. It doesn't operate from the same principles. And the ego itself, once it recognizes that actually what it's actually seeking is happiness on an existential level, not that the career and the relationships were not important, they were, but internally what it's seeking is the end of suffering. So there are many pathways for us to go about, I should say, dissolving the ego, right? Or the sense of self. One of the best pathways is inquiry, direct inspection. Directly inspect in your experience if there is something called an ego. If there is a separate sense of self, if there is a center of experience, right? So that's the inquiry part. There are many different pathways. What I would suggest, the best way to start is perhaps not even inquiry. It's to answer two questions. The first question is, what are you really looking for? That's number one. What are you really looking for in this life? What is the one thing that if you didn't have it, life would be meaningless or not worth it? If you had everything else, but if you didn't have this one thing, life wouldn't be worth it. So the first is answer that question, to have absolute clarity about what you're seeking. Most people, and this helped me a lot, somebody I used to listen to helped clarify this for myself. right? I understood that at the end of the day, what I was seeking was happiness, a sense of okayness with myself, being at peace. That's all. That's all. You know, I wasn't seeking anything highfalutin, right? I wasn't seeking, at the end of the day, like, we like to use words like God and Mukti and all these kind of things, but like, we're just doing it to show off, right? We don't actually know what these words actually mean. You know, if you ask a child, he doesn't care about Mukti, he cares about happiness, he cares about peace, right? So that's what we're really looking for. Again, I don't want to answer this for you. This is for you to decide, but that was what I came up with. So the first question was, what are you really looking for? Yes, yes, yes. The second question is, what's the cause of your unhappiness? That's the second question. I think if you, as you go about your day, notice what makes you suffer, and then just keep asking yourself, why does this make me suffer? Why am I unhappy right now? What you'd quickly find is that it's not the experience itself that makes you suffer, it's your response to it. It's the attitude you take towards it. So what we need to do is correct your attitude to the situation. There are many times in life where you're not able to correct the situation, but you can always correct your attitude. What kind of attitude? An attitude that is in line with reality, an attitude that accepts reality as it is. So an attitude which doesn't resist reality as it is, and it doesn't cling to reality. It doesn't cling to aspects of reality that aren't here, and it doesn't resist aspects of reality that are here, right? So what our mind tends to do is, we are here sitting here right now talking to each other, but now the mind might be thinking of a more pleasurable experience. He'll be thinking of, oh, like, I'll go to Lollapalooza, you know, it'll be so much fun, or I'll go to this party, or I'll make so much money, I'll become a millionaire, I'll buy a yacht or something. Like, there's so many desires, right? So the mind is always thinking about, how could this experience be better? Essentially, that's what the mind is thinking. How could this experience be better? So it's always thinking about the future. The other process, what's going on, is something unpleasant is present here, right? And the mind is continuously pushing it away. It doesn't want it to be. It is here, but it doesn't want it to be here. So an example would be, somebody insulted you. For example, somebody insulted you. Now somebody has already insulted you. So that's an unpleasant experience. Most of us will get triggered, right? We'll get angry, we'll get triggered. But the person who is wise, or person who is a sage, they don't resist these things. They're like, okay, they accept reality as it is. And it doesn't mean they don't respond intelligently, but they don't get triggered. They don't resist aspects of experience that are here already. They're not saying this shouldn't be here. It is already here. So when you say this shouldn't be here, you're creating inner suffering. And when you're longing for something that is not here, you're creating inner suffering. So that's what the Buddha essentially recognized. You're craving for an experience that is not here, and you are pushing an experience away that is already here. So understand what you're looking for and understand the cause of suffering. Clarify and understand that ultimately what you're looking for is happiness and peace of mind and comfort with yourself. And second, progressively understand every day what causes your suffering. I've already given you a few pointers, a few answers, but this is an experiential path. This is an experiential path. You would understand by observing your mind a lot. So yeah, that's it. To summarize, you start off as a baby. You're not egoic yet, right? You're still suffering, but you don't know, okay? Because a baby is suffering because he is, the consciousness itself is identified with form. Everything suffers actually. As long as identification is there, suffering is there. So the baby is suffering, the adult is definitely suffering, right? But the sage is the only one who's not suffering. Why? Because he is disidentified from everything. He's understood that ultimate peace comes from dissolving the ego. And dissolution of the ego happens when craving stops, longing for a better future, and resistance stops. Pushing pain away stops, basically. Wanting reality to be any different than it is. That is actually true. If you don't want reality to be any different than it is, that is happiness. That is happiness. And then life flows from happiness. Life is not lived in search of happiness. It is an expression of happiness. And there is nothing more beautiful than that. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And you can do great work, but you'll do it from happiness. And the work that is done from happiness will be far more, you'll be far more productive, and you'll be far more creative, because you'll be, utilizing that universal intelligence and compassion. It all flow into your work and your relationships. So vertical development, horizontal development. Horizontal development is about the quality of our work, health, and relationships, and vertical development is about the quality of our consciousness, right? So both intermingle. If you have high quality, if you're doing high quality passion fulfilled work, it'll launch you into a higher consciousness. Or similarly with relationships and health, if you're eating good food, for example. But the opposite is also true. If you work on the consciousness, the kind of work you do, the kind of relationships you have, all of them will improve. So it's a bi-directional influence, so to speak. That's it for now. I'll record another video about something else soon.